There's a place in Ayrshire where the land feels wrong. Not cursed, not dramatic, just unsettled. A narrow road curves past fields and low hills. Sheep graze. The wind moves through long grass. From a distance, it looks like any other rural corner of Scotland. But if you stop your car, if you stand still, if you listen long enough, you begin to notice the silence isn't natural. No birds linger near the ruins. The air feels heavy, like a held breath. Even the wind seems reluctant to pass through. This is the remains of Auchindrane village that, according to local memory, destroyed itself from within. A place where an entire community vanished through violence, fear, and something far darker than simple crime. Tonight, we walk slowly through what remains. Not to sensationalize it, not to exaggerate it, but to understand how a quiet Scottish village came to erase itself. This is the story of the village that burned itself. Welcome to Scottish Dark. Auchindrane was never meant to be famous. It sat quietly near the River Girvan, surrounded by farmland and low woodland. For centuries, families lived here under the authority of powerful local clans. Life revolved around cattle, seasonal harvests, small stone homes, and the slow rhythm of rural Scotland. People knew their neighbors. Disputes were settled face to face. Everyone depended on one another for survival. But beneath the calm surface ran an invisible tension that existed throughout medieval Scotland. Power, land, ownership, bloodlines, loyalty, revenge. In the late 1500s, Auchindrane fell under the influence of two powerful families, the Kennedys of Bargany and the Kennedys of Cassilis. They shared a name, but not peace. What began as legal disputes over land slowly became something much more dangerous. Feuds in this era weren't arguments. They were generational wars. Children inherited hatred the way they inherited farmland. The Bargany branch believed their land rights were being stripped away unfairly. The Cassilis branch held political influence and legal power. Court rulings favored Cassilis. Bargany felt betrayed by the system. Resentment turned into obsession. Small acts of sabotage followed. Livestock stolen. Fences destroyed. Threats whispered in taverns. Then, inevitably, blood was spilled. One violent confrontation escalated the feud beyond repair. A murder disputed in detail ignited a chain reaction of retaliation that no authority could fully control. Each death demanded another. And Auchindrane, sitting between these power struggles, became the silent witness. Families were forced to choose sides. Neutrality became dangerous. Trust evaporated. The village began to fracture. The event that sealed Auchindrane's fate came not with a battle, but with fire. Accounts vary, but the core remains consistent. One night, several buildings were deliberately set alight. Flames spread quickly through timber roofs and thatched structures. People fled into darkness carrying children and whatever they could grab. Some believed the fire was meant as intimidation. Others believed it was meant to erase evidence of a crime. Some whispered it was vengeance made visible. What matters is this. After the fire, Auchindrane was never the same. Homes were abandoned. Families relocated. Fear became permanent. The village didn't disappear overnight. It bled slowly into emptiness. As years passed, stories began circulating among neighboring communities. People spoke of lights moving among the ruins at night. Voices carried by the wind when no one was present. Animals refusing to graze near the site. A persistent feeling of being watched. These weren't ghost stories told for entertainment. They were warnings. Farm workers avoided the area after sunset. Children were told not to wander near the remains. Travelers felt uneasy, even stopping nearby. The land itself seemed to remember. Historical records confirmed the violence, the murders, the legal battles, the collapse of the settlement. What history does not record is the emotional aftermath, the trauma passed quietly through generations. In rural Scotland, memory doesn't vanish easily. Stories survive in fragments, in half-whispered warnings, in places people avoid without knowing exactly why. Auchindrane became one of those places. Not haunted in the theatrical sense, but weighted with unresolved human pain. The kind that doesn't announce itself. It simply lingers. If you visit Auchindrane now, you'll find only low stone walls, grass-covered foundations, and scattered remnants of old structures. No signs explaining what happened. No fences blocking entry. Just quiet ground. But visitors often describe the same sensations. A sudden drop in temperature. A heaviness in the chest. A sense of being unwelcome. Not frightening, just deeply uncomfortable. Some leave quickly without knowing why. There is a psychological truth behind these experiences. Trauma imprints itself on communities, landscapes, and collective memory. Humans associate danger with locations. Those instincts pass down culturally even when the original story fades. But there is also something more subtle. When violence reshapes a place, its purpose disappears. A village exists to support life. When that purpose collapses, the space becomes hollow. Auchindrane was never rebuilt because no one wanted to return to what it represented. A reminder of how easily order dissolves. Auchindrane doesn't threaten. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't appear in travel guides. It simply exists. A quiet scar on the land. A reminder that communities are fragile. That grudges can outlive generations. That human conflict leaves marks deeper than stone. Some places don't need ghosts. History itself is heavy enough. If you ever find yourself traveling through Ayrshire, and you notice the road growing quieter, and the air feeling slightly heavier, you may already be passing through Auchindrane. Most people won't notice it at all, but some places remember being alive, and they remember how they died. Thank you for listening to Scottish Dark. If this story stayed with you, consider subscribing for more quiet journeys into Scotland's hidden past. And as always, listen closely to the silence.